As a kid, you asked it all the time. Why, Mom? Why are we doing this? Why are we going there? Why does it matter, and why now? You were not being dramatic. You just wanted a map. Because without a map, everything feels random, and random feels unsafe. Then you grow up and you stop asking it out loud. You still think it, though. You sit in a meeting while someone announces, "We need to change the process," and the 6-year-old in your head whispers, "Why?" You sit at the kitchen table while someone says, "We need to talk," and the same whisper shows up again, "Why?" The question never left. We just got more polite about it. That is where silent authority leadership becomes interesting. Because it is not about being quiet. It is not a personality trait you are born with. It's a learnable way of communicating in business and in private life that starts with one thing most people skip. A real why that people can feel, not just a target you want to hit. Silence can support it, yes, but silence is not the engine. Vision is the engine. Silence is the moment the engine becomes audible. A lot of leaders think they are sharing a why, but they are sharing a goal. We want to grow. We want to cut costs. We want to be number one. Those are outcomes. They can be smart outcomes, but they do not move hearts. A why is different. A why is a picture of the future that makes people want to belong to it. It is a belief. It is meaning. It is the kind of sentence that makes someone sit back for a second and think, okay, I want to be part of that. In a company, a real why can sound like this. I see a future where people do not just buy from us. They trust us so much they become a fan base. They recommend us without being asked. They defend us when we are not in the room. They feel proud that they chose us because our name stands for something. That is not a KPI. That is a horizon. Or it can sound like this. I see a future where our industry becomes cleaner, calmer, and more human because we refuse to treat customers like numbers. We build trust so well that people feel safe with us, and that safety becomes our signature. Again, that is not a metric. That is an identity. And privately, a real why is not, I want less conflict. That is a goal. A why sounds more like this. I see us growing old together in a way where we always find our way back through honest conversation. I see us at 80, still sitting on a bench in a park, laughing about life because we kept choosing openness over pride. That is a horizon. It is emotional. It is a picture. You can feel it. A why like that is powerful, but it is also fragile. Because if you rush it, it can sound cheesy. If you over-explain it, it can sound like marketing. If you throw it out while you're tense, it can sound like manipulation. That is where silent authority leadership matters. Silent authority is not the why itself. Silent authority is the way you carry the why. It is the calm, grounded delivery that makes a big vision feel believable instead of dramatic. This is also why silence is not the main character, but it is not optional either. When you share a horizon, people need a second. Their brain has to switch from daily survival to bigger meaning. Research in negotiation and group communication suggests that brief pauses can shift people into a more reflective mode and change how information is processed, and that silence can influence trust and perceived competence when it is carried with presence. The human version is simple. When you give space, people can actually receive you. But silence can also be misread. If you pause and you withdraw, it feels like punishment. If you pause and you stay warm, it feels like respect. That is why silent authority leadership is not about dramatic pauses. It is about presence. It is the ability to stay connected while you give space. Let's make it concrete at sea level. With a scenario you have probably lived. The board wants efficiency. The CFO wants numbers. The COO wants execution. Everyone is pushing their angle, and the conversation becomes a wrestling match. Then a CEO with silent authority leadership does something different. They do not start with a plan. They start with a horizon. They say something like, I see a company that customers trust so deeply that growth becomes a side effect. I see a brand that people are proud to recommend. I see a culture where our best people do not burn out because we build systems that make quality the default. And then they stop for a second. Not a performance pause. A real pause. A pause that lets the room feel the picture. Only then do they continue. Now, if that is the future we want, here's what we need to change this quarter. Notice what happened there. The strategy did not come first. The horizon came first, and the strategy suddenly feels like a path instead of a command. Now the consumer version, because it is exactly the same mechanism. Imagine you're trying to talk to your partner about phone use at dinner. If you lead with the point, you get resistance. You're always on your phone. That's a conclusion, and conclusions trigger defense. But if you lead with the horizon, it changes the energy. I see us being the kind of couple that still feels like a team in 10 years. I see us laughing at dinner. I see us present with each other, not drifting past each other. Then you pause for a second. Then you say, and that is why I want us to put our phones away during dinner. Same request, but now it is anchored in meaning. This is not a complaint, it is a vision. This is where silent authority leadership becomes learnable. It is not about becoming poetic all the time. It is about training yourself to stop opening with conclusions. It is about training yourself to start with the horizon, the belief, the meaning, and then bringing the listener back to the practical next step. A simple way to practice is to notice your first sentence. Your first sentence is usually either a conclusion or a horizon. A conclusion sounds like, we need to do this. A horizon sounds like, I see a future where this matters. Most people do not realize how often they lead with conclusions, and then they wonder why people resist, why people switch off, why people only comply instead of commit. Silent authority leadership is the ability to begin differently. You start with the why, not as a goal, but as an inspiring picture that can be shared. Then you use silence like a frame, so the picture can land. Then you connect it to the next step, so the picture becomes real. There is one more layer, and it is the uncomfortable one. A horizon only works if it comes from the heart. If you borrow someone else's why, it will sound hollow. If you copy a slogan, people will feel it. Silent authority leadership is not just delivery. It is integrity. It is the alignment between your values, your actions, and your words. When those match, your why does not need to be shouted. It can be spoken quietly, and it still carries weight. So here's the reflection I would leave you with, and it works in business and in private life. When you speak, are you starting with a conclusion, or are you starting with a horizon? Are you giving people a target, or are you giving them a future they can belong to? And if you're honest, do you have a why that inspires, or are you mostly running on goals and urgency? If you had to put your real why into one sentence today, in your work life and in your private life, what would it be? And would people feel it if you said it out loud?